I feel really offended, to tell the truth, if you really have positive evidence that would truly prove my misunderstanding on any of idiomatic or cultural context, then you can actually bring it to me, which is truly proved my um like stupidity and absurdity in terms of digesting American originating expressions when I was in America. You can bring it to me. I'm more than happy to sit down and be tested on these type of idiomatic expressions. I'm not lying. I'm actually, very happy to meet all sorts of different people to truly actually demonstrate my understanding. You can actually pick out any movie and you can actually stay with me and ambush me. That's a real the deal. I'm very happy to do so. And you can actually watch a Rachel Maddow or a Chris Hayes with me and ask me, what does that mean? Why did they actually say such a thing? Just like, honeymoon. The very day, when Murat actually asked me while watching CNN together with me, why do they actually say honeymoon? What does that mean? Oh, you mean the President Obama's having honeymoon day with the different legislators in the Congress? Because he's been actually enjoying the beginner's luck. Before anything gets really serious, he's just actually enjoying the atmosphere of a friendliness. This is really the good time that wouldn't really last up until his first 100 days probably, or even actually shorter than that, because of the Tea Party movement and the birther movement that would have truly kind of revealed themselves in a very draconian way by lurking around in the backwater. You would probably notice it. But the problem is, I feel very, very terrible. If you ever actually, make your deduction based upon a grobe assumption that I would be easily fooled by someone and my behaviors could not be explained by your understanding, and then that would be sufficient enough to assume that I was, really a non to many of common expressions or cultural idioms that would be very well known to many Americans, or that would be frequent in American context. And that's a very, very wrongful fallacy. I'm very happy to, go ahead with a lawsuit to claim certain damages, because I feel very, very offended and my intelligence was severely ravaged. And I just really think I deserve a little bit of compensation money to at least, do all the things that I had done wrong right to my mom. That I just really want to rectify the dirty records of mine, but that's not the primary purpose, because I just really want to say sorry to my mom. Because throughout the entire corroboration and verification procedures, I literally exhausted the patience of my mom. I literally, yeah, squandered the generosity of my parents by psychologically tormenting them just because they were my parents. And I think they deserve a little bit of pocket money. And I really believe so. I'm more than happy to be tested on every category. But the problem is, it's not really kind of a learn. It's something that happened or something that took place much later. It's not really the ex post facto. Then I would actually be recognized as a person who would have performed the miracles. Think about it, how difficult for you to learn these type of American sentiments outside the United States without actually being in touch with the many of natives. Think about it. I mean, can I actually be then being a magician and a sorcerer who would actually perform the miracles? Because I actually learned it well before I actually came back to Korea. Well, I was somewhat weak on nouns. That's just something that I can definitely mean. And my Achilles heels were definitely articles. But that does not mean I was actually slow on cultural uptake, because my intuition works pretty well. And I can snoop around the things that were happening in the back door. That's my specialty. And my intuitive gut feelings, like hunch, they were really the primary, yeah, weapon. They were actually very helpful to disrupt the barriers and to knock off the impediment standing between me and the United States. My gut feelings really good. My guts. Because I have audacity and gut to do that. So some people can never tolerate my guts because I'm being very audacious. It's true. But the problem is your presumptuous assumption is also somewhat bold and improper. I feel very, very psychologically offended and attacked and assailed. This definitely deteriorate the mental health of mine. It's true. I was constantly hounded by their suspicions, and I just really want to have a fair opportunity to prove it before I would be taken for granted as an idiot who had no idea what was going on in the context. How many seconds have I used to actually get the scenes or make the scenes out of these type of headlines? Even actually, you know what? Those perfectly good English speakers cannot actually understand these headlines. They're gist of American sentiments, and you need to also be a little bit floating. You need to be floating in American waves. You need to catch some airwaves coming from, blazing from American TV to at least, you know what, understand or come to terms with these really quickly. Is it true? Think about it. Even if you're real American, not really, I'm not talking about American, but even if you are really like a good English speaker, because I was like, oh, you know what, check all the boxes. I know what that means because I actually, you know, was raised and well bred in any other Anglophone country. But that doesn't mean you would actually know what that means. Because do you know what that means? You know, she actually meets the requirements, but what particular requirements would they ever, you know, want to see from the conservative nominee? This kind of a cultural currency, I mean. I feel really bad. I'm more than happy to be tested on these classifications, but you never actually, you know, thoroughly canvassed the depth of my understanding. Oh, you know what? I think, you know, it's really reasonable because I was not onto the articles. They thought that, you know what, that would be the very fundamental that should be there as a foundations. Without that, everything would be meaningless. But the thing is, now I actually conducted a little bit of a weird do-it-yourself style learning. So there was a certain disorientation in terms of proper learning method or sequential order per se, because there was no pedagogical commitment. Is it true? Maybe that could be the reason. But I'm actually very happy to be tested on sentiments. Do you know? Let's try and actually break it down, because you know what? No ESL foreigner or targeting tests can actually measure the depth in this way, right? Because when we were watching, you know, for instance, Sleepless in Seattle, then somebody actually said that why did it Meg Ryan just say such a thing? Do you know what that means? Can you actually at least give me a sentiment? Can you at least, you know, put it in your own words? Can you do that? Can you paraphrase it? I mean, that's important, I think. That's a very, very important step to prove my innocence. Or I could be wrong. I'm more than happy to accept that one. I cannot be actually 100% right. I'm very open to that idea. But you're the one who completely omitted the whole procedure by conducting your bizarre or biased backward thinking. You're really the one who actually assumed a certain thing either. I would have never actually forgive them for actually blaming me for being such a stupid, a wacko living in one's own wonderland. You're the one who did the same thing to me, in a way. It sounds really perfectly like a hypocritical, white sepulture. That's called a white sepulture. You're the one who actually conducted the hypocrisy with a big H on it. You're the one. I mean, because no one actually provided me with the sufficient chances to prove, or at least prove my innocence or otherwise.